Hi, you guys. This set of notes is all about integrating sources. So, what the sources do for you? Your essays must be your own words with your own thoughts in your own voice. However, quoting sources in your essays, it adds authority to your essays by illustrating that you are presenting informed opinions and or shows your reader exactly how you arrived at a particular thought of your own. Most importantly, it helps you to avoid plagiarism. In fact, college essays are usually comprised of three components. That is, your own thoughts about something you have read or an issue you are studying, quotes from your textbook reading or assignment, quotes from outside sources. And as you know, your essays and your research assignments are definitely built on these pillars. Most of your essay is in your own words, but you use quotes to back up your own thinking, illustrate your own thinking, prove that you are correct, or reveal that an opposing point of view is completely idiotic. Okay? And as people who do not yet have letters behind your name or degree, you are relying on other sources, reliable sources, to substantiate your point of view. You can actually follow a very simple pattern. The introduction generally will not have a quote in it. It will be entirely your own words. Okay, the introduction being your first paragraph or two. After that, you will start every paragraph with your own words. You can actually, again, follow this pattern of, for the second or third sentence of a paragraph, you can use a well-integrated quote to illustrate or prove the topic sentence of that paragraph. And finally, you can close off each paragraph with a reflection of your own, showing how that quote worked to support your point. And as you know, I do ask you in your quizzes and in our discussions to explain how whatever source you use to support your point of view, how that reflects on what you think or what your point of view is. So here are a couple of rules of thumb. Do not start a paragraph with a quote, okay? Do not end a paragraph with a quote. Use only one or two fairly short quotes per paragraph. A well-integrated quote is a lot like a sandwich. On top, you have a sentence that is your own thought and a summary setting the context for the quote that you intend to use to illustrate a point. Then you have the quote with the author, tag, or signal phrase to back up your thought. Then on the bottom, you have a sentence of your own that reflects back on the quote. For example, midway into his famous I Have a Dream speech before 100,000 rapt listeners on a scorching hot day on the Washington Mall, King answered critics who asked why he was not satisfied with the civil rights gains at the time by detailing a litany of unjust public behavior towards African Americans, ranging from police brutality to disenfranchisement at the voting booth. His quote, "We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream," he sang out in his preacher's voice. In quotes 304, that would be the page number. It was this stunning metaphor of running water and others like it that catapulted King into national respect and prominence. So as you can see, the beginning of this paragraph is setting up the context, this idea, and then it is illustrated with Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, his direct quote, and then it explains how this quote illustrates the thought that was started at the beginning of the paragraph. So let's back it up a bit. How do you know what to quote? Well, one rule, quote sparingly. Okay, you don't want to use a whole lot of quotes. Keep quotes to one sentence or even less. If you have something that is longer, break it up and with signal phrases and other and author tags so the reader knows why you're quoting it. And you have an example here. The author wrote, offering justification for his actions, and then the quote, and he added. Okay, so again, use quotes sparingly. And then rule 2, quote just the good stuff. Okay, you want your quotes to have an impact. Memorable statements, especially clear explanations stated by authorities, controversial arguments in the speaker's or writer's own words. Here's an example of the use of signal phrases. King brought the crowd to a cheering roar like the sound of a great cataract when he asserted that the promise of Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation had not yet been fulfilled. The quote, 100 years later, the Negro is still anguished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land, he stated, page 303. King noted that the purpose of the giant gathering on the Mall was to illustrate the exact conditions across the South that make the African American feel like exiles. So a summary of these ideas in this notes, you want to keep your quotes short. You want to just quote the good stuff, okay? Not everything. And then you want to use author tags and signal phrases with all of your quotes. Do not start paragraphs with quotes, please. And do not end paragraphs with quotes. So some examples of signal phrases with author tags. According to Jane Doe, and then the quote. As Jane Doe goes on to explain, characterized by John Doe, the society is, as one critic points out, John Doe believes that, Jane Doe claims that. In the words of John Doe. So those are some examples of signal phrases with author tags that you can use. And here is a list of signal phrases. I won't read them all to you, but you can certainly use them to add a little variety instead of just saying says or he said or she said. So our last slide here, I have a suggestion that if you want to see good examples of the use of integrating quotes and using author tags and signal phrases, study a newspaper or magazines. They provide really good examples because periodicals rely on interviews, information from sources, and the integration of quotes is primary. Okay, so in the example provided here is prescription drug use surges among children, but again, you can go to your local library website or Los Angeles Southwest College library website to find periodicals and very good examples of how to integrate quotes. Thank you for your time, and if you have questions, do reach out to me. Okay?